Today's adventure brings me, or should I say begins, Celebration, Florida here on Market Street, where each and every Sunday, as the recording of this, it is August 27th, Sunday. They do a flea, farmers, and art market here every Sunday. But I am going to be commuting over to the former MGM studios, now Hollywood studios, for a little nostalgia. Welcome everyone. Adam, the Woo here, wearing an appropriate t-shirt sporting Michael Eisner and the main cheese, Mickey, because I am going to go back in time a little bit to my former favorite theme park, Disney MGM Studios. Covered it a lot over the years. Going to be meeting up with a good friend of mine that has the same passion for MGM Studios. And we're just going to see what we can find back in Batu East, Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars land. And I'm going to show the spots that are there now and what exactly was in those spots before they bulldozed them and built Batu. Should be fun. I'm inviting you to join me. Let me get going. Shall you? This entire area right here, exiting out of Celebration, reminds me of Hollywood Studios a lot. Just that old Hollywood type vibe. Traffic I-4 westbound, pretty smooth. Hello, Mickey Power Pole. Got my reservation ready to roll. Kind of head through the little parking area here and head into Hollywood Studios, formerly MGM Studios. That's what I call it. They have just announced that soon, I think next month, the trams are going to be coming back. You can see, getting here early enough, people are pulling in the parking lot. Now from here, I'm going to walk up, go through the checkpoints, walk right down Hollywood Boulevard, which is a representation of old Hollywood. It's their interpretation based on a lot of real LA structures. So you kind of go down that, and as you're going to the Chinese Theater, off to the left is basically, this is in LA. This is the sculpture here is in front of the Smokehouse restaurant right across from Warner Brothers. It's the exact recreation. And there still is a Michael Eisner quote from 1989. So from 1989, you can see this quote is still here. And look, it still says MGM Studios. So I'm gonna go from this point, and I'm gonna go down Grand Ave, the former Streets of America, former New York Street, Streets of America, and then walk in to Batu. Construction update.
Oh my gosh.
We are now back in Batu. World of Micah's here.
Dude,
what are you laughing at?
I think it's a new churro stand.
I think they just got, it's like a precaution there.
Those are stanchions.
Stanchions. So we are gonna walk around and explain. So let's go over here in the corner away from everyone. Okay, we've been planning on doing this for a while. Years ago, we covered a lot of MGM stuff, but it's been a while. It's been a few years since we touched on the subject of MGM
2016 was when it closed. And I think you and I did our video like right after it closed.
You're talking about Streets of America, Residential Street.
Yep.
So check out World of Micah's channel. He's going to be covering a few things that I'm not going to touch on today. What I want to talk about is Residential Street and anything that we can stand in the spot here in Batu. That's kind of what I want to go with. But no spoilers.
Cover some more stuff.
No spoilers. Yeah. Check out Micah's channel. So I have figured out, I went on satellite view, Google Earth, old historical aerials, and I figured out within a few feet where each thing that we know and love is. That's basically what we're gonna do. I have a lot of photos on my phone. You have a lot of photos on your phone. We'll combine efforts and see
these forces.
And see, no pun intended, because we're in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Now, before I get too far ahead of things, I want to show this picture from 1996. My grandmother and myself were on the second half of Streets of America. So this right over here, where it has the Chevron sign, is Grand Ave, where that starts. You see the city skyline off in the distance, which is now gone. That leads kind of over near the Ewok Village over to the right over there. So this is basically in the area, kind of over where the entrance to Rise is. So streets kind of went at an angle that way. And then there is the main tunnel leading in and out from this angle by Rise of the Resistance into Batu. Now where we're standing exactly at this moment, we'd be looking right at the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids area right here. So basically on the foliage that is right down there, it's kind of where we're standing. So if you just kind of go through, let me show this. So this is satellite view now, and I just show what it looked like then. So that photo of my grandmother and myself is just a little bit over here to the far right of the angle. But that is the walkway in, that's the tunnel in, and then you go up here. Muppets is off to the side. But that's what it looked like then. Spent some time in there. So the entrance here in the middle was the entrance to the Honey, I Shrunk, which would have been, because you can't really get over in there, it's the queue. It's the external queue over there at Rise. So it kind of shifts that way. So the streets would have gone that direction.
Yep.
So the interesting thing, if you look at satellite views, there is a lot of foliage and greenery between this and going over to Slinky Dog and all that. There's a lot of foliage, which almost kind of was how the Honey, I Shrunk area was. It was, you were climbing through foliage. But right over in there is where it would have been. Well, kind of more like that. So right there. Just picture my younger self climbing around, rooting around in the foliage. There was a movie called Splash. I'm going to get to the sequel of Splash. But there was a fountain that was located basically behind and catty corner to the Honey, I Shrunk area. I don't know whatever happened to this fountain, but I could show exactly where the fountain used to be. Hopefully it's in the archive somewhere, but I don't know if it is. Remember the Splash fountain?
Oh yeah.
We're going to talk about Splash 2.
Yeah. Random.
Something we just discovered like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, legit.
There was a sequel.
Yep, and they filmed so much here, like, before the park opened.
Yeah.
And, which is kind of cool. I bet they were like, look, we got to get a film out, we got to use this property, we're doing these taxes things, and so they probably were like...
Not Splash 2, not number 2, T-O-O.
Yep, Splash 2.
The Disney Channel movie.
Yep.
But right here past the Coca-Cola droid, right over there was where the Splash 1 fountain was. All right, if you look closely, that was the Splash fountain there. So just kind of past by where the little Honey, I Shrunk area was. But this is what it looks like now. So there is a building behind this spaceship, and it's right where that building is. So if you just went over the wall of that spaceship, you know what? It might still be in that building. I mean, you never know. The screen used prop could still be over the top of that. There's a small building behind this spaceship. If it wasn't put in a museum, it wasn't put in the archives, could it still be back there? I want to know. Now over here at Resistance Supply, were you guessing that too?
Yeah, I showed this. I was showing the skyline, and you just go back a few feet.
So this archway, so basically this was the center point. When you take the tram tour, you'd see this. In fact, the guide would even say, take a look at that skyline off in the distance. But that archway is in this exact spot. So next time you're looking at these helmets right here,
so wild.
This is where this is. It'd be neat if there was like a little nod to an arch. So it's right here and behind where the exit is to Rise of the Resistance. So if you're looking like this, and then you turn that direction, right over there would be the archway view, looking down Streets of America. All right, for posterity here, Micah, you got the photo?
There it is.
We're standing, get a little closer to the camera here. We are right here, standing in the same spot as this.
That's good. That's like a thumbnail.
Maybe. We got a lot more to see.
We do. All right.
That's pretty awesome. And who could forget the Singing in the Rain umbrella? You would stand underneath it, you would get a photo op, and it would rain around you. You wouldn't get wet, but the rain would precipitate off the side of the umbrella. So if you've been on Rise of the Resistance, that is right where BB-8 is sitting in Poe's X-Wing. So just next time you walk out, you go into the transport vehicle, look over to the right, see BB-8 and go, you're singing in the rain. Looking at old satellite images, so I took this pencil when I was at home doing a little recon on this. So look at the eraser right there. The eraser is on the Singing in the Rain umbrella. Also, fun fact, this corner here was where Bette Midler in The Lottery, she filmed the scene from The Lottery right there where she was like up on the little scaffolding. So that was just off to the side. But if you look at here, that same exact area, that is Poe's X-Wing there, and that is BB-8 right there. Yeah. I mean, that eraser is trying to erase the spaceship and wants to bring Singing in the Rain back, but that's the spot. Next time you exit it, look over at BB and go, wow, you're Singing in the Rain. Now Micah had the wherewithal back before they bulled all those to go take a bunch of personal photos, so he has all these. So if you just off to the side, so we're kind of standing now, so Bet would have been right up here. And that was a pre-show that they would show before they did the Backlot tour to explain how movies were made. So you got the umbrella, which was over there. How do you say umbrella? I always say umbrella.
Umbrella.
Yeah, I say umbrella. I think it's Mississippian in me.
Yeah, umbrella.
So singing in the rain over here. Then you would continue on based on your photo. Right here was the little area. So kind of like right here where this was, is where Bet was like dangling from the rooftop. And then she would have got in the shop. Remember she was in the shopping cart going that way?
Yeah.
And there was all the extras jumping out the side. That was all right here.
They need to put that on Disney Plus.
It needs to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's not on Disney Plus.
More or less in this area. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. They kind of vaguely point out these spots.
It's a stretch.
It is. But it kind of gets your bearings.
I'm waiting for Bet to come crawling out of the foliage here.
Hello, Adam.
It'd be like, I'd be like winning the lottery.
That's it.
So if you're in this spot, and then you shift over to this little walkway, right about here, give or take a few feet, is where they had the stage show for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Right, and a bunch of other shows, but the Turtles was like the big one. It was kind of here. I think the parks need to bring back some turtle power. Right? Are there any Mutant Ninja Turtles anywhere on Disney property anymore? They're all gone, right?
Nothing. Nothing exists. It's all Nickelodeon Paramount now. And there's a rumor that the new Nickelodeon resort that's coming to Orlando.
Yeah, you just did a video on that.
They said that they're going to have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles area.
Ooh.
They're bringing them back. Them, SpongeBob, and someone else, I can't remember. But, I mean, Turtles, I was like, I'm having my birthday there.
I want to see Donatello walking through the foliage.
Raphael.
Holding hands with Bet Midler.
Yeah.
Well, Bet would be over there.
Yeah. Hey, Turtles!
Raphael, right in here. It is amazing when you look at satellite view how many trees and bushes there are going from here over to Toy Story. Dude. I mean, a ton of land is not even used through here.
Right, it's all vegetation.
Yeah, it's such a great photo there. There was other stage shows too, but I can't. There was like an Ace Ventura show that was a little farther down the streets, halfway down the streets. Goosebumps was there.
A show, and then Turtles, and then Power Rangers replaced the Turtles, and then the Muppets did a little show there at one time as well.
Yeah. A lot going on here.
So much. Very 80s. Awesome.
Late 80s, early 90s. It was a time.
Even the opening day map had Chippendale Rescue Rangers premiering this fall. They weren't even
out yet.
And that was like my entire childhood.
Hey, here's a really good throwback photo as well. So you got the Singing in the Rain area over there. You got the archway we already showed. You got the Turtles over here to the side. You got the splash fountain over here in this courtyard. So this building here was kind of off. It's almost like in the exit area of Rise. But over here, now in this photo, the Bulldog Cafe had not been moved there, used in the Rocketeer, but it was right there on that corner. The tram would come down Residential Street, then it would take a right to go that direction towards Catastrophe Canyon. And that's where the Bulldog Cafe was. So we're gonna try to pinpoint where that was. And we're gonna get into some Residential Street stuff now, which is basically heading into the marketplace area of Batu East. Another great old photo here. You see how the trams kind of went around out of Residential Street, went past the Bulldog. You see Bulldog Cafe was not too far from the building that was next to the Singing in the Rain area and that archway. Really, everything made it seem bigger than it really was. The tram would go that way to Catastrophe Canyon, you can see. And that's where a lot of old screen-used movie props like the Fly the Navigator ship, the Skiff Barge from Jabba's Palace, Return of the Jedi, and others. Dipmobile from Roger, all that was down. Old historical aerials here. So if you come down here, so I'm trying to figure out exactly where the Bulldog Cafe sat, which would have been right in the center of the screen there. So scrolling over to this is a modern day view. It basically would have been where I always say that the Rancor would have been kept, behind the X-Wing as you're walking into the marketplace. So you come around, and then over here, there's that little big door. But basically the Bulldog Cafe was right through that door. Maybe it's still behind the door. Maybe. Yeah, you never know. You just really never know if something that you can't see, well, I mean, obviously you go on satellite view and see stuff, but it's just fun to use your imagination and think, wow. So this is kind of one of the areas that Mandalorian comes out of. Maybe Mandalorian is having a beverage back at the Bulldog Cafe. So if these doors were to open and you were to flash back 30 years ago, the Bulldog Cafe would be right behind these doors, right here. Amazing way you could figure out the use of satellite images. There's a place in Burbank that
next house right there
recreated the Bulldog Cafe. It's not the actual screen used one. I hear Chewy misses the Bulldog Cafe.
Someone has that inside a museum.
But it's in the Burbank area. It's in the valley, but it's not the screen used one.
Gotcha.
I think it's a recreation, so a little smaller. So the church, so you're saying the church was probably like right over here.
Yeah.
In that area.
And then
you got it there.
Basically inside the.
Now we're kind of walking into Residential Street. Now a lot of stuff is backstage, but there's going to be a few things we can show you that are still where anyone can walk. All right, we're going to go forward still back in time a little bit. We're going to go forward a few years, back when the car stunt show existed. But right over here was something that was out when they moved some of the old screen used props. So these are like recreations of props, but there used to be screen used props from movies back in this area. Back when they had, what was the name of that car stunt show?
Lights, Motors, Action.
Lights, Motor, Action in this area. All right, so you got over in here, you got, there's the Fly the Navigator. So this is moved in two different spots. It used to be over by Catastrophe Canyon, and then years later it was over by Lights, Motor, Action. But this is basic, so if you look exactly where the later versions of the Fly the Navigator spaceship was, it is right here, the entrance into Droid Depot. So if you take that and then you kind of just zoom in, it's right at the entrance into Droid Depot, right there. So basically right here where these ferns, this tree is, and then if you shifted that way, you would have seen the Earful Tower right over there, heading towards Slinky Dog. Get a little closer, kind of match that up too. Now where the Earful Tower was is actually the launch area. So if you're in Slinky Dog, the ride vehicle, it launches exactly at the base of the Earful Tower, which means this foliage one would have been right about here, more or less. Not in precise location, but more or less in the same general area as Buzz Lightyear. Uh-oh, troopers are out. Now, so here's some images of the screen-used Return of the Jedi skiff barge there from the Sarlacc pit area. And this is the tank from Last Crusade, which is now over by the Indiana Jones stunt show. And then there's also one of Wayne Zielinski's vans from Honey, I Shrunk, right there. And one thing I really liked about, so this was the first studio I ever went to. I never went to Universal Studios, and it's the first time I've ever seen any behind the scenes, anything on how movies are made. That's why I loved MGM so much back in the late 80s, early 90s. But look at this guy, right? He's like on a bike riding past the Dipmobile, screen-used Dipmobile from Roger Rabbit. And this is all in an area now that is slightly backstage behind what was Residential Street before all these were moved over to where the car stunt show eventually would have been, which all this is gone now, except for the tank. The tank's over by Indy. Okay, got some good old photos back from May of '88, before the park opened, construction, and showed what Residential Street looked like. Now, quite a bit of this we're going to be able to stand in the same spots of, oh, look at this. You can see Earful Tower off in the distance, so follow that former ravine that's there and kind of go around. You can see them constructing it. We're going to pinpoint out what some of these were used, some of the productions that these were used in. So you see here, MGM Studios opens May 1st, that was 1989. And just kind of showing some of the, so we're going to show some screen grabs from this house here. Also, the Empty Nest house was directly across from Vern's house from Ernest Saves Christmas. We'll be able to stand in that spot. And there was this house, which I can't really pinpoint if anything was ever really notable was filmed there. Splash 2 was in this house here in the middle of the screen. Golden Girls house was directly across from it, that they filmed in a few episodes, even though the real Golden Girls house is in LA. They did film 3 or 4 episodes where they used the exterior here at studios. And then Adventures in Wonderland used this house. It was also used in a couple of Mickey shorts as well, live action Mickey shorts. Yeah, I love all these old photos. I think the thing I'm most excited about is just stand where Jim Varney and John Cherry were. This photo here. I just found this photo recently. I'd never seen this photo till like a couple weeks ago. I found it in an old publication. So it kind of ran, Residential Street kind of ran directly down this route, more or less, not exact. You can kind of picture this, if you will, as being an imaginary residential street. modern day, only in a galaxy far, far away. Okay, doing this kind of in a bizarre way, but basically I put the rock right on Vern's house. So I'm gonna shift it over to the satellite view. That's exactly the same aerial images that I printed off. So Vern's is the rock. Then you pan in this way, which is basically right as you're entering in to Oga's Cantina, which is right there. Wish I had a little bit smaller rock. I don't know if I can find a smaller one.
Again on Corellia.
Right over here was Vern's house. Vern. So more or less, when you're standing here waiting to try to get into Oga's Cantina, you're looking at the scene from Ernest Saves Christmas and that photo of John Cherry and Jim Varney right here. So there they are. Harmony Star and Ernest are driving up to Vern's. Harmony Star gets out. That's the angle. This is also the same spot in the same truck that photo of John Cherry and Jim Varney was taken at, probably during that scene. You can kind of almost imagine the pickup truck turning to right here. And I love this photo. This is the same angle that we're basically standing at. We're looking at where that photo in the driveway would have been, give or take a few feet.
He throws the greatest parties.
And if you watch the scene, I almost think that they used the interior because they destroyed it. Which means if you're in Oga's, that's the scene with the Christmas tree.
Take a big bowl of punch.
And the punch. Yeah, I'll never look at Oga's Cantina the same again. Now, before they started putting what was the Christmas light show that they put on streets?
It was the early stages of the
Osborne Spectacle of Lights.
And that was like when it first started, and when they got rid of it, they kept the Osbornes on streets, but Residential Street, they would deck out all the houses.
Right. I was lucky enough, I have no photos or video of this, but I was lucky enough one time to be able to walk through Residential Street when Osborne's was back there before it made it on the streets of America.
It's like a dream.
And you could walk up. I walked up to Vern's house. I have no documentation of it, but I was like, I'm standing at Vern's house, and Ernest Saves Christmas, which was right there.
Yep.
There were cast members serving hot cocoa and candy and things like that, and then they had the lights all on the houses.
Wow.
And then a couple years later, it became the Osbornes that we know and love on the streets of America.
Yep, I was there that last night too. That was a sad one.
So if you take this, so if Vern's was here, it means across the street in this general vicinity was the Empty Nest house, and the Golden Girls house was right here. Right, more or less right here. I'm gonna try to pinpoint it a little bit. Okay, it was actually the opposite direction. So Vern's is here, Empty Nest across the way, and then off to the right was the Golden Girls house.
Yeah.
And then that was the Adventures in Wonderland house, Splash 2 house, and then if you continue on, that's where Bulldog Cafe and Streets were. Okay, there's the Adventures in Wonderland house. That would be farthest down, almost over towards the Falcon almost.
Yeah.
Almost at the Falcon.
Yeah, and then you had Empty Nest
house.
Long shot at Empty Nest.
Yep.
Then Golden Girls.
Golden Girls house there.
And then across the street, Vern's. That's
okay,
all.
we're going off of these sound stages. 2 of the 3 still exist. So we're looking at the angle and how we can pinpoint where the Golden Girls house was, an Empty Nest house, and all that kind of angled up. So this over here is where the tram would load. That is gone now, the backstage. But these 2 sound stages, what we just showed on satellite. So again, I'm saying the word Vern. Playing a drinking game, how many times I'm saying Vern today? Might not end well. But if you look across, Empty Nest house, Golden Girls house would have been, whoa, right there. So basically, right there was the Golden Girls house, right there. There was also a time when Herbie would be on the tram tour, and Herbie was in the same spot as Ernest's truck would have been from that angle also, and that's looking, which would be more or less right about at this angle too. You get the idea. And there was a sing-along called Mickey's Sing-Along or something like that. It was like a kind of a little short, one of the few things they filmed on the Backlot, or at least the street, not streets, but Residential Street. And this is the house, you see Mickey there. And here's another one. So this house is exactly where Kylo's ship is, and they're getting ready to do something. The troopers are out. This is exactly where that house would have been. Mickey is no longer here now. It's the First Order. But this is that spot where that facade would have been right here, Kylo ship. Now where Catastrophe Canyon would have been is backstage. Can't get back there. But pretty much all of Residential Street is now Batu East. I want to show this house over here in the corner too, which is kind of in the area now. This one Adventures in Wonderland house. Okay, you got John Forsythe there, who was doing the opening.
With a
He was walking over there. We walked past the Golden Girls house. So this house is basically right at Docking Bay 7 now. You have a photo that you took, or that you got here of the, I'm having a hard time seeing it. There you go. So that's basically where Docking Bay is now. You get some moof juice and surly sarlacc in this area. To be more specific, it was kind of more over here in the corner. This has been elevated, so it was a little bit lower down, but it was used in quite a few productions. It's just basically right here, and you can look across and see the Millennium Falcon, fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy. Man, so this basically is Residential Street. Kylo has taken over Residential Street. He's walking in front of Burns. He's walking the tram route. Now there's another photo of Herbie there in Forsyth. Then there was this house on the end here, which we just showed, which is where that sing-along special was. You see the kind of the roof line of that. Okay, we're getting into Splash 2, so I'll be kicked back. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And there's Forsyth in front of the Golden Girls house.
That's right.
With Estelle Getty.
And Rue McClanahan.
They actually were there on site, and they come out and said hello.
That was when they did their handprints for the grand opening.
Pay no attention to Kylo down there, because I want to show. So you see off in the distance the Ernest Saves Christmas house off in the distance there. And then you can also see 2 houses down was this one used in Splash 2, which starred Amy Yasbeck, who was married to John Ritter, who did the opening of MGM Studios special. So if there was a correlation, it was kind of in the same time of year. She played the mermaid. And that was the house across the street from them. So there's Amy and the other actress. And here's another screen grab from Splash 2, TOO, looking down this precise angle at where those houses would have been. I wonder what was exactly where the Falcon sits now. Oh my gosh, Kylo's just strutting stuff through here. Okay, just guesstimating. So right over here in that little plot there, the tram going by, just off to the side, so center of the screen, that is where the Falcon is right now. And if you continue up, go through the marketplace right on that corner, behind the Rancor door, I call it, for the Bulldog Cafe. Bulldog Cafe is not in that photo, but that's where it's at. Yeah, right where Kylo and the Troopers just walked past us. Right in front of Docking Bay is where John Forsythe was. This is the scene from the opening special, because right there, that's the person who was putting the fake snow down.
That's right.
Also, this is kind of a deep cut photo from Splash 2. They don't show this angle, but that's the Golden Girls house right there. And there's where John Forsythe was with the snow and all at the opening special. And this is the yard that they trashed for Splash 2. But you see in the made-for-TV movie, the camera's facing where this whole crew is standing. It's kind of a pretty cool photo. Take a look. There is Amy and Todd Waring in front of the Residential Street houses. Now Galaxy's Edge. And obviously this whole area has changed dramatically. It almost seems like when they had it set up before, it seemed a lot bigger and larger than it was now. Oh, here's a nice little MGM nod. Some say that is from the Great Movie Ride. It was the part from Indy and the Indiana Jones scene where he's getting the Ark of the Covenant. I've never fact-checked that or confirmed it, but it sounds pretty interesting. Black Spire Outpost, formerly MGM Studios, Residential Street. Wild. Yep, so Earful Tower was right over there at the initial launch of Slinky Dog, so it would have been right about there, more or less. So basically, where this next group of people are going to be coming around the corner in the ride vehicle, they would be going right underneath, more or less, of the Earful Tower. And John Ritter tie-in, was up on the Earful Tower for the opening day special. He was like up there. And there was a rumor that they were going to move the Earful Tower over to Disney Springs, but that never happened. So they just went right through where the Eiffel Tower was. Eiffel Tower, probably in a junk heap somewhere, sadly. Woo-wee. All right, we're heading out to the parking lot. We have accomplished our goal today. It looks like it's going to cloud, probably leaving at a good time.
Yeah.
We hit some old MGM Studios history.
It did.
Make sure you check out World of Micah's channel on YouTube.
Thanks.
Covers a lot of deep cuts.
Yeah.
Theme park stuff, non-theme park stuff, movie locations, weird. Keeping it weird.
Keeping it weird, man. Staying weird.
On World of Micah. I'm glad we got to cover MGM again.
Me too, man.
Because not a lot of people know or care or acknowledge it.
Yep.
I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. The vlog is over. Looks like I left at just the right time. Rain's coming down. Florida summers.